Good afternoon, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Sunday, August 24th, 2014, around 6:20 in Billerica, Massachusetts. Very nice and sunny day out. Highs in the 70s. This week we're going to go higher and higher with the temperatures, 80s and maybe 90 on Wednesday, with a lot of heat and humidity. That's going to be the last of it for the year. We only had 5 days of the heat and humidity. Some news to report: the Seattle Mariners swept the Boston Red Sox by the score of 8-6. The Sox 8-game losing streak. Also, in addition, the St. Louis Rams quarterback Sam Bradford tore his ACL again. He's going to be out for the year. That's not good for him. Not good for the Rams. He's just 26 years old, and his career could be in serious jeopardy. And also, sad news to report in the world of Hollywood: actor-director Richard Attenborough passed away at the age of 90. Richard was known for directing the 1982 movie Gandhi. And also, the board of directors of Market Basket are going to meet tonight at 10 p.m. and they're probably going to talk about the final details of Arthur T. DeMoulis's purchase of Market Basket, which it's going to happen soon, and that means all the part-timers are going to be returning to work soon. That's good, because I'm happy so I could be returning to work at Market Basket. And I knew for a fact that somehow he would get the company back, as by hook or by crook. Okay, that's it for the news. And also, my next video blog subject is about Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE, his 1993 heel run in the USWA. Vince McMahon played a heel character for the WWE as an evil heel owner for in the late 90s and early 2000s and the mid 2000s. His run was famous for Stone Cold Steve Austin. They had a long feud over control and stuff like that. Was a very great feud, but actually Vince McMahon had an earlier heel run in the old USWA, and he feuded with the top guy in the USWA, Jerry the King Lawler. The backstory about this feud started in September of 1992, when the USWA, which was one of the last regional territories in professional wrestling, which was co-owned by Jerry the King Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, started a working relationship with the WWE. And the working relationship was that several WWE stars would come to Memphis and have matches at the weekly cards at the Mid-South Coliseum, and all of the WWE wrestlers who came to the Mid-South Coliseum in the USWA many of them were played heels in the USWA. And I think in the winter of 1992, Jerry the King Lawler went up to the WWE as a heel commentator, and he had an occasional match here and there, and the working relationship continued into 1993. Many more WWE superstars went to Memphis to the weekly cards at the Mid-South Coliseum. Sometimes it was Shawn Michaels, the Narcissist Lex Luger, Scotty Flamingo, who played Johnny Polo, who was under WWE contract. He went to the USWA, and Giant Gonzalez and others, Papa Shango, and a lot more. This feud continued. This working relationship bore fruit in the summer of 1993, when Jerry the King Lawler feuded with Bret the Hitman Hart and Owen Hart. Jerry played the heel in the WWE and feuded with Bret and Owen Hart, but in Memphis, Owen and Bret played heels, and they had a big feud with Jerry's partner, Double J Jeff Jarrett, who was a face in the USWA. And around summer of 1993, this is when Vince McMahon started to send his first videos as evil, kind of evil, but he wasn't the over-the-top character he played in the WWE. These were kind of kind of like a subtle heel. And looking at some of the videos I saw on YouTube and stuff, yeah, he was pretty good at it. And it continued on. They had another one of these videos where Jerry the King Lawler interviewed Vince McMahon on the King's Court, but that King's Court was just shown for the viewers in the USWA because they didn't want to acknowledge they were feuding in the WWE, because WWE didn't acknowledge any other wrestling federation during that time period, which I don't blame them. They don't want to give like a leg up on their competition. And like one of the interviews on the King's Court, Jerry the King Lawler said he was going to wrestle a referee at the Mid-South Coliseum in like August of 1993, the referee was Paul Namus, and he's a heel referee, and he said to Vince McMahon he wanted him to be at ringside to see him beat the referee, and Vince said, let me get you straight, I'll be there at the Mid-South Coliseum and stuff like that, and he says, if I don't beat the heel referee, Jerry Lawler says, the referee, I will give everybody's refunds. And then next thing you know, it was like Vince McMahon at the Mid-South Coliseum, and he was with Pat Patterson, and he was the Booze, and it was the King against Paul Neighbors, and like the King was running with Paul Neighbors and stuff, and then Vince McMahon trips him, and then he doesn't even say it, and he gets into Vince McMahon's face, and then Pat Patterson attacks him, and then Vince McMahon like punches Jerry Lawler and throws him into the ring, and Paul Neighbors got an advantage, but he lost the match, and he was put out on a stretcher. And afterwards, there was more videos that Vince McMahon was stuff like saying that with this and that. These videos were pretty good. And then Vince McMahon sends Tatanka down to the USWA. Tatanka playing a heel, and Tatanka wins the Unified World title over to Jerry the King Lawler. And then one of these promos, Vince McMahon wears the Unified World title, which, I looked at this. These were great videos. Vince McMahon was playing a heel character pretty good, but it wasn't the over-top one. It was kind of a subtle heel. And then Jerry the King Lawler wins the USWA title back in a week. He was probably held the USWA Unified title more times than anybody imaginable. I think he won it over 50, 60 times. He owned the company, so he put himself over. Plus, he was the most popular wrestler in the history of the USWA, and he played a heel everywhere else. And then like the videos continue with Vince McMahon, and then Vince McMahon sends Macho Man Randy Savage down to do some videos and stuff, and then Jerry the King Lawler and Macho Man had a match in the Mid-South Coliseum, and Macho Man won, but the title was held up because of some dubious distinctions, and they had a rematch, and Vince McMahon was in the corner of Macho Man Randy Savage to face Jerry the King Lawler for the vacant Unified World title. And then Vince McMahon interferes in that match, and Randy Macho Man Savage wins the Unified World title over Jerry the King Lawler in the USWA. I heard rumors this feud was going to continue until I heard that Jerry the King Lawler was going to wrestle Vince McMahon at the Mid-South Coliseum sometime in like late November, early December of 1993, but that match never came to be because Vince McMahon was indicted in steroids, and also Jerry the King Lawler was charged with raping an underage girl, but that with the underage girl, those charges were dropped because the underage woman made up the story, or whatever. And, Vince McMahon had other problems with the steroid trial, and this is when the USWA and WWE kind of ceased their working relationship for a while. And, it would have been something if Jerry the King Lawler wrestled Vince McMahon at the Mid-South Coliseum in 1993, 1994. But I don't know if it would have been very big. It could have been very, very big, but WWE was never going to acknowledge that because they don't want to, like, they did at that time, they didn't want to know another wrestling company existed. And I think this thing probably would have worked out very good, this feud match between Lawler and Vince McMahon. But the two things I think would have been even bigger if that match took place. If, Vince McMahon had Jerry the King Lawler's, like, one of his most arch rivals, Jimmy the Mouth of the South Heart, and also as, like, Vince McMahon's manager, but Jimmy the Mouth of the South Heart was not available because he became, like, Hulk Hogan's personal manager, and they were filming Thunder in Paradise, and Hulk Hogan was about to sign with WCW. And also another thing, long legendary Memphis Wrestling play-by-play announcer Lance Russell wasn't going to broadcast the matches because he was on semi-retirement. He came back and, like, to out of retirement for the USWA, and I think the winter of 1994, and that would have been, that would have made this feud kind of bigger if those two pieces were in the puzzle, but it never came to be, which was my opinion, disappointing that never came to be. Many years later, when Vince McMahon played the heel character in WWE, Jerry the King Lawler rooted for him a lot, and he rooted him so much, I thought, Jerry the King Lawler could have been Vince McMahon's stooge or something. That would have been something, but I bet if if that happened and he would have blamed Jerry the King Lawler over something, and then we could have had a Lawler Vince McMahon feud in the WWE. But my hunch would have been, if that happened, Vince probably would have inadvertently turned himself face, because Lawler was this was when he was a peak heel announcer. The fans would have probably cheered for Vince and probably booed Lawler, and it would have caused confusion, and also probably Jerry would have probably beat up the Stooges and stuff. Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe, which would have been very funny, but then again, you never know. Maybe Vince McMahon could have said something, like, he could have acknowledged, like, Grandmaster Sexay as Jerry Lawler's son years before on WWE television, 12 years, years before Michael Cole finally acknowledged that Brian Christopher was Jerry Lawler's son. I think that would have been amazing, and who knows, maybe Grandmaster Sexay could have, turned on Lawler then. You never know, but I think this was a missed opportunity by USWA. Probably would have gotten a lot of attention by USWA and stuff like that, but the WWE never acknowledged that feud at all on television, and I don't blame them, because they did not want to help out anybody else for wrestling. And that's about it for that. I'll be back with my third and final video blog of the night, which will be about Hall of Fame football coach and announcer John Madden. See you later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers.